The Global Latin Factor Podcast.
Welcome you and all to another episode of the Global Latin Factor Podcast, where we talk about, say it with me, Latino everything. That's right. Thank you very much for being here and joining us on another episode. I hope that you are doing good and that your day is going magnificent. If you have not subscribed to the YouTube channel or the audio and left us a review, I know that you're going to do it, so I have no concerns whatsoever. So please do join us by liking, commenting, sharing, whatever it is that you do, posting. Go follow all our social media. Very easy to find. You can Google the Global Latin Factor. I know it's a mouthful, but the Global Latin Factor, if you Google it, you'll find everything pretty much that we have. Episodes, the thumbnails on Pinterest, you name it, we have a website, everything. So, with that being said, we are going to get to our episode. This is another solo episode. I hope that Google and everything that I looked up does not let me down and that we are good to proceed. And if there is, I have no problem correcting. So, thank you for being here. All right, here we go. So, we're going to go ahead and start off this episode of another Global Land Factor. We're going to talk about potatoes, a.k.a. Solanum tuberosum, a.k.a. papa. The Incas in Peru were the first to cultivate potato, the very first ones, around 8,000 BC to about 5,000 BC. However, there's estimations of 5,000 to 10,000 BC. In 1536, Spanish conquistadors in Peru discovered the flavor of the potato and transferred it all the way to Europe. That's where they saw it as like, this potato is good. The humble potato was domesticated in the South American Andes, where it spread west and then it went northward and back to the Americas and beyond. You are going to know where all the places that potatoes been, okay? It's crazy how many places it is. The potato is a starchy tube of the plant Salem tuberosum. If I'm messing it up, I'm sorry. And it's a root vegetable native of the Americas. Genetic studies trace a single origin, present day southern Peru and extreme northwest Bolivia. Potatoes were domesticated from a species in the Solanum bravicaule complex in the Andes region and South America, where the species is indigenous. Some close relatives of the potato were cultivated in that area too. Now, the potato, if you didn't know, take a look at guess how many people. More than 1 billion people worldwide eat potatoes, and global total crop production exceeds 3 million metric tons. There are more than 4,000 native potato, mostly found in the Andes area, and also they come in many sizes and shapes. If you've seen a potato, if you love potatoes, you know. There are also over 180 wild potato species. Yes, just in the U.S. alone, there are more than, guess how many? 200 variety of potatoes sold throughout the United States. That is a lot of variety of potatoes. And when I talk about the Global Latin Factor, this is what I'm talking about. Some of the countries that produce potato are, guess, China, India, Ukraine, Russia. That was a mistake that they happen to be in that order. Peru, the United States, Bangladesh, France, Poland, the Netherlands, and the UK. That's just a few. There's a whole lot more of countries that produce. Now, we're going to go ahead and, before we get that, so the Global Latin Factor to me, as I mentioned before, not only is people, but the things that we have contributed as far as the Americas, how, the colonizer, whatever you want to call it, Europeans came and took this vegetable that, at one time help with famine in Europe. And because if it wasn't because of this vegetable, there's originally from the Americas. There is other vegetables that are similar to it. I forget is the night something. I forget the name of it, but it's similar, but it's not a potato. So when it comes to the actual potato itself, it helped with just advancing civilization to be where it's at. Without potato, I mean, you think about it, even the Industrial Revolution, what do you hear all the time? The meat and potatoes, meat and potatoes. Okay, so, that's some of the things that were essential for the world to keep moving. And it's a contribution of the Americas to me. I feel like that's part of not only people, culture, music, all that include within the global Latin factor, within the being familiar with the word Latino, Latin, and then just including the factor of everything that we have that affected and affects the world right now, still to this day. Okay. And now we're moving on to something very different. This is something close to what we had talked about. However, it sounds very familiar to what we had discussed before. Merengue dancing. Yeah, merengue is a style rooted in Africa that came to life in the Dominican Republic, specifically closer to Santiago, which is the capital, and is based off a repetitive 5-beat rhythm pattern called a quintillo. With its African and Spanish influence, merengue is a new world music style, however, is rooted in the old world traditions. So again, we have the African sounds and the Latino sounds, kind of like salsa, kind of like cumbia, kind of like bachata. Merengue was developed in the middle of the 1800s, originally played with European stringed instruments, which was the bandurria and the guitar, and then years later, the string guitar instruments were replaced by, guess what? Something very European, the accordion. Thus, conferring together with the guira, and the tambora. And that's the other instruments that were very essential for that. Now, those are the sounds that are typically and that you hear on an actual song for merengue. Now, usually the actual elements and what you find in a typical music band for a merengue is these instruments, which one of them is a diatonic accordion, which is common in many types of tradition folk music. That's one of the items that you will find, as we mentioned earlier. A tambora, which is a two-sided drum that was originally fashioned from old rum bottles. And then also you have the huira. The huira is you know what a huira is? I know you know. It's a metal, which is a metal scraper. And you see it, the motion whenever you see the band playing. Now, couples dance originated in the Dominican Republic and Haiti, strong influence by Venezuelan and Afro-Cuban music. Practice, and as far as the dancing, they practice throughout the Latin Americas. That's another place that they actually practice the dancing. Originally and still a rural folk dance, and later a ballroom dance, merengue at its freest is always away from the ballroom. So whenever you see merengue dancing, which is one of the easiest dancings if you want to talk like not too hard, this is the one you want to start out with, merengue. There are two popular versions of the origin of the actual national dance of the Dominican Republic, which is merengue. One of the stories says that the slaves they were chained and used to drag their foot out of necessity, and that's how, and they would move their foot, and that kind of sort of went with the beat of the drum, and that's one of the origins of the merengue. And the other one was that there was this hero, this war hero that was wounded in the leg during one of the mini battles that they had, mini revolutions in the Dominican Republic. When he came back, there was a party of villagers ready to welcome him in, and then to kind of sort of have them included and not left out. They kind of had a little sympathy one and dragged their legs too, and limped around, and that kind of sort of made him not feel weird because he was a hero. Now, those are two. Those are two of the main places that they say that he came from. If you know, or if you can direct me to an article or a place that it says that, because I found this one, Google, on two places. This is where I found it at. Now, I've been known to have two or three sources and still be wrong. But if you know somebody, or if you know the article, or if you know an individual, please let me know. I'd be more than happy to talk to him or look at and make a correction if needed. Okay. And the music merengue has become very popular throughout Latin America, also in several major cities in the United States with Latino communities. So I know sometimes you hear, if you go to a quinceañera, a wedding, Latino wedding, you hear it. Merengue was inscribed on November 30th, 2016 in the representative list of the Intangible Cultural Heritage of Humanity, or the UNESCO. Now, we talked about this before. So salsa and bachata are both in there. This is the organization that takes things that are not really tangible, meaning things that you can't touch. They include it in this area, and they give it a title that this is something that is very necessary for wherever it's from, like Dominican Republic. This is something that you can't really touch. You can't, but you can hear it, you can see it, you can dance it. And this merengue is part and included in that. So some of the famous artists as far as the merengue and the groups, which include Juan Luis Guerra, Wilfrido Vargas, Mili Quesada, Toño Rosario, Fernando Villalona, Los Hermanos Rosario, Bonnie Cepeda, Johnny Ventura, and many, many, many more artists. There's just like a small list of the many ones that we see. Francisco Antonio Lora Cabrera, a.k.a. Nico Lora, was the Dominican folklore music composer that is considered the father of the typical merengue. He's considered the father of the typical merengue. He has composed over 1,000 songs. 1,000 songs. Pretty much they said that he's going to get his own separate episode by himself, because that's just crazy to me that you can write 1,000 songs, and pretty much he said anything that you can think of, he could write a song, a merengue to it. That is a skill. More than 1,000 songs he composed. So he is considered the father of typical merengue. And also some songs that he created or he wrote, composed, were over 100 years old, a century old. And right now to this day, you can still hear some of those songs playing. So to have that type of creativity and to have the influence that even after you're long gone, 100 years later, your music still getting played and recognized is crazy. Absolutely amazing. Talking about a global Latin factor. So, pretty much we're done with what I need to talk to you about on this one. Now, some of the things that, this is just it's like an iceberg of information that I give you, because there's a whole lot more, but I think it's still essential to give it a 2022 twist and with a global Latin factor style, and let you know about these amazing things that have, to me, feel like a contribution of a global Latin factor. So make sure that you check out all the other episodes that we have. We have a salsa episode, we have a bachata episode, we have a cumbia episode. If you want to check it out, we'll have them all there, and we'll have them all there's a playlist for all the dances that we have, Latino dances. So this one's going to be joining those. And check out all the content. Once again, we appreciate you very much for being here. My name is Crispin Valentin. I am the host of the Global Latin Factor podcast. Go subscribe, go like, leave us a comment. If you are on audio only, you can definitely rate us on Apple Podcasts, Pandora. Big shout out going out to anybody that's listening to Pandora. We get quite a bit of listeners there, so thank you very much. And Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast, there's plenty of places that I see coming in through our analytics and our numbers, so we appreciate you very much. It does mean a lot. We are going to have more episodes as long as we can get in the support, and we want to get to a different goal. But for the meantime, we just want to say thank you. Thank you very much for your support, your listening. Again, my name is Crispin Valentin with the Global Latin Factor Podcast. Go follow us, go subscribe, join the journey of the growth of this podcast. And remember, we are just like you. We are the spice in this melting pot that it is the world. Till next time, bye. Thank you very much for checking out this episode of the Global Latin Factor Podcast. If you are enjoying the content and the channel, go ahead and subscribe. Help us reach our goal of 1,000 subscribers so we can bring you more episodes, more channel. Go like, go subscribe, go write a comment. We appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Walks like a pero but in fact is a flamingo. Coming to Havana and reach from Puerto Rico. On a pirate ship, you don't know where do we go. The birds of the jungle chasing fortune and